My mind? My mind is not my mind. Not the devil's mind. The devil can't trip me up and make me do things that I don't really want to do except for that thing I did. My name is Lonnie Phillips, and I suffer with the mental illness schizoaffective bipolar. That means that I'm manic and grandiose. When I first got diagnosed with that illness back in I think it was 80, in the 80s, 89, they said, well, what that illness is, you think highly of yourself. You think you have powers and strengths, and you believe things that nobody else believes. You see things that nobody else can see. You understand things that nobody else understands. And they said, that's something going on in your mind. That's not real. Okay. What do I do? Do I just give up and throw in the towel?
I live in central Arkansas, and I think that when you think about Arkansas in general, Arkansas is a more rural state, but central Arkansas is probably the urban center of the state. You know, the people here, there's a lot of Southern values that go on, so, you know, you can still drive down the road and see someone and wave and honk your horn.
You go 10 minutes outside the city, there is that country life. Farmers, just good people, just those good down-home Southern people.
When we talk about what do we have here in Arkansas, we have churches. They're, you know, if you go down a mile, you're probably going to see 2 or 3 in that 1 mile distance. And so when we go in the rural areas, you're going to have a Walmart, you're going to have a church.
In general, Arkansas is an extremely rural state. And, you know, with mental health care, that can really be a disservice. It's difficult to get providers in these rural areas. Arkansas is a poor, lower socioeconomic, lower education level, just statistically. You know, we always joke we're 49th or 50th in everything. Unfortunately, that also applies to access to mental health care.
So when we're talking about the landscape, we don't necessarily have enough providers to provide a care to everyone who needs it. So that really guides what our mental health landscape looks like. We built this system where if we build it, they would come. Well, you can only come if you have the resources to come. And we have to take our outreach and go past the people who have the resources to those people who may not have it so that they have access to treatment and have access to better emotional health.
Good morning, everyone. Y'all not excited enough for me. Good morning, everyone.
What would it look like if we had a provider that was just in a barbershop? You could just go to the barbershop as you're getting your hair cut, you could see someone. What would it look like if a church provided someone there, you know, a mental health provider was there, you could just walk in and get health care there? We have a standard way that we provide care. And I think that system that we have in place now leaves certain communities across Arkansas not having access to services. We have to start thinking about what are the steps to move us towards a system that's going to serve everyone equitably.
It is a system that we often refer to as broken. It's a system that is very confusing to people. 9.1% of Arkansans don't have any insurance or don't have mental health services in their insurance. So again, they have to pay out of pocket. This is nothing new. It's just when you got such a big system as mental health, it's like you can't fix it when it's, you know, continuing to grow every day.
So when you think about that, we have this need that's high, but we don't have enough people to actually provide the care. So our mental health landscape is really a place where we're trying to figure out how can we help people live their best life? How can we help them achieve mental wellness in a place where it may be a little bit difficult to get help when you need it?
So stigma regarding mental health, mental illness in Arkansas, first of all, that stigma is nationwide, worldwide. Some places are doing a little better than others. And it also can depend on what even communities you're in, right? So in Arkansas specifically, as mentioned, we are known as the Bible Belt. And unfortunately, some individuals separate their spirituality from their mental health and don't think that this should be a problem, and if this isn't, you don't talk about it in church often, let alone African American communities where there are even greater stigmas related to it sometimes.
When we're talking about what would lead me to need or seek mental health care, and especially for Black Arkansans, we think about those things that are, again, are stressors, but we think about like racial discrimination, but also in just seeing some of the racial tension in the nation. That puts stress on you, even if you're not there. So, during the height of 2020, the summer of 2020, we had the George Floyd murder, but there also was just videos that were coming out that were talking about violence against people of color. That is hard to watch. That's hard to see. You see spikes in emotional unwellness when we have these national things that happen. And that is just on a national level, but we're not talking about on the state level where you may see policies go into effect that may negatively impact you and your community, where you may see discrimination occur on a daily basis. Then we also know that here in Arkansas, African Americans who live here tend to be in higher levels of poverty, lower levels of education, worse housing situations, and all of those are additional stressors. So if you think about just the stress of living kind of in the South in a place that's maybe under-resourced, and then you add on top of that maybe the racial and ethnic discrimination that we're talking about, then you have like a double dose of stressor that may be impacting certain populations. Let's partner with the stress of the community to have this conversation and to normalize it in some way and to say, hey, you know what? It is okay that you're not okay, but let's start talking about what do we need to do to get a little bit better in our emotional wellness. So just having this conversation in communities, we're going to reach someone who didn't know. We're going to miss people anytime that we don't take the education and outreach to where they are. So we have to really take a mindset that all of the 75 counties need to be reached by mental health education and outreach. That means that we need to have something in all the counties that says, this is what mental health is. This is what you do if you're experiencing some mental health symptoms. Here are the resources available to you, and it's okay for you not to be okay, and it's okay for you to get some help. We have to start having those conversations on a regular basis, all the time, everywhere that we have a community here in Arkansas. I think that for a very long time, because of stigma, we didn't have this conversation. So mental health was all very hush-hush.
Society, I think our day and age, our parents, their parents, it was push it down, don't talk about it, everybody has problems, and just keep going through your day. Like that happened on Friday, it's Monday, we move on.
You just have to take care of that. You just have to do that on your own. You just have to pray and get through it. Just pull yourself, you got to push through it. So we hear those type of things because we didn't always have access to those type of services.
When I was growing up, you didn't have mental problems. You did not have mental illness. I was just told, get over it, move on. And now that phrase really gets on my nerves. You don't just get over it. We have to have help, and we shouldn't be afraid of asking for it. It's important that we get past that stigma of asking for help.
We've got the, suck it up, buttercup attitude. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to acknowledge it. Families don't want to acknowledge that there's a family member that may be struggling with a mental health issue. And then if it's me, I don't want to tell anybody. I don't want to face that reality that I have a problem.
We're used to thinking of mental health as being people who can't take care of themselves. Oh, I can take care of myself so I don't fall into that group. And then we have these other things like, not only am I supposed to be able to take care of myself, but I'm supposed to be strong. I'm supposed to be resilient. I'm supposed to keep going. I'm supposed to be doing this. And all these supposed to, and shoulds. And then it just keeps us stuck. Because if we can't do that, we just get into this trap of feeling guilty and we never move past it.
I feel like society teaches us your emotions can be pushed down and you can handle them, but not in front of other people. And that's kind of how I was taught, and that's okay, but I'm learning that's not the healthiest way to do it. But it took me going through it to learn it, right? I felt like society taught me how to bottle up emotions and to fake a smile when you're out and about and everything's okay. Well, with that, I didn't know who to tell how I was feeling. I didn't know how I was feeling. So to finally come up with the words and to admit that maybe something is wrong was really tough.
Staying where you are may be comfortable. You know what you're going to get. You don't have to be afraid. But getting better and being able to thrive and do those things are going to outweigh it.
And I remember someone that I love dearly and I trust dearly. I invited him over, we had a conversation, and I told them, I think I'm having anxiety. And they looked right at me and they said, well, don't think about being anxious and you won't be anxious.
Stigma is real. In the way that sometimes we don't have empathy for people who are dealing with mental health issues. And we need to work on that as a community and as a society to show empathy to those who may be struggling in that area.
But in that moment, it was so deflating for me because I finally got the words up. I finally got the courage up to summarize how I felt. And it was like my bubble got burst. And so I almost just retreated back again. Like, okay, well, I can't tell people they don't understand. I felt like my friends didn't understand. At that age, you haven't experienced a loss like that. You haven't lost a best friend.
Terrence Richardson was a dear friend of Townsend. I like to call him her musical soulmate. They just had a connection, and he was a drummer in her band.
I was super shy, and so I came to college, this shy kid. I played guitar, I sang a little bit, and I was looking for a band. I knew I wanted to do that when I got to college, and so I got on Facebook, and I had this message from this guy that said, hey, if you ever want to start a band, let me know, I drum. And against my better judgment, I went and met him in the middle of the night.
I'm pretty sure she said, hey, so this guy has messaged me.
I remember telling my roommates, you know what? I want to play music. I'm not going to go meet this guy. If I'm not back in an hour, call the cops.
And she went to wherever he was, and they just became musical soulmates from then on.
That night started one of my best friends, started a great friendship, it started a band. And so he heard me play guitar and sing, and he was really the one that encouraged me. You have to be the lead man. You have to sing these songs that you write. You're too good not to. He pushed me past my limits, which led to something so amazing. And so that was the start of my rock band in college. And we played all over. We ended up getting to be pretty well known in the Central Arkansas area. It was a great time. It was honestly one of the best experiences I've ever had. And in 2016, in January, he ended up passing away from a car wreck, just totally unexpected. And we were so young at the time, I felt like we were invincible. I honestly I knew that the car wreck was bad. I knew that he was on all these plugs and everything and in the hospital bed, but I remember meeting a friend for coffee and saying, the car wreck was bad, but he'll be okay. And I got the phone call from his family one evening that he had passed away. And I literally remember falling to my knees and being like, wait. That is not at all how I expected this to happen.
It definitely made people come to a stop and kind of think life is short and that we should all live more like Terrence. I mean, he went and did and encouraged and loved big and laughed, and you never saw him down. So I think the way he lived helped people get through in a sense as to what would he want us to do now.
So I went to the hospital, spent the whole evening, just me and his family and two of the other friends that were in music with us. And the next morning I walked into work at 8 a.m., never slept. I came in from the hospital and pretending nothing was wrong. And that's kind of how my life went for a little while.
I had actually been around when Townsend lost a grandparent. And so I had seen her grieve before, but this was definitely different. Losing a best friend so suddenly is something you can't ever prepare yourself for. So she was very much a, I can fake it till I make it kind of person in a sense. And this, she could only fake it for so long before it really started taking its toll and affecting her.
And so when he passed away, it was almost reverting back to that shy kid. It felt like, and although it wasn't true, it felt like my support's gone.
She kind of took a break from music, which was big because it had become such an important part of her life. And she was quiet. She wasn't outgoing. She wasn't silly. Physically, she was there, but mentally, she was everywhere but where her body was.
What was fun about music was gone. And so I remember music was my life. And when he passed away, I didn't touch an instrument for probably a year.
So when all of this happened and I realized that I didn't think she was okay, she would get really short with me and just not her usual easygoing self.
And so I felt myself kind of pull away from people. I became bitter towards people, honestly. I thought no one understands because I was so young. A lot of people told me, if you wanted to talk about it, you would have talked about it. And so I found myself in a very strange place. It was very isolating. It was very dark. I felt very, very alone in that situation. And I don't think people do it on purpose. I think that's what we're taught. I think society doesn't talk enough about mental health and how we can provide an offering hand or what to say in those moments.
She said I told her that I think she needed to talk to somebody. Somebody more than me, somebody more than a friend, somebody that could truly help her navigate this new way of life.
Taylor was there for me through everything, and that's one of my best friends, and she saw everything firsthand, but she didn't know how. She didn't have the knowledge. Again, we were so young. She'd not been through anything like that, so she didn't know the tools and the tricks that could be used, and that's something that I learned through counseling.
It is okay for you not to be okay. I think for so long we have normalized putting on the mask and pretending like we're okay and pretending like everything is good. But we have to get to a place where we're able to say, I'm not fine. I'm not okay. You may not be the place that I need to unleash all that, but I need to have a space where I can say, here's what's wrong and I'm not okay. We have to normalize it being okay for us to go seek help when we're not okay.
So when I was going through this, I obviously didn't really know how to navigate my feelings myself, and I was doing everything in my power that I knew of. And so I remember going home that night and shaking and just like, okay, I need to talk to somebody. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done, was to push call, because it felt like I was admitting something was wrong, and I was admitting that I couldn't fix it myself. And there was something about that moment that I had to put my pride aside and be a little bit, there's humility in it.
We just got to be able to step up and say, I need help, because it affects everybody, some way or another. We go through something in life that causes something to go a little bit array.
I walked in, we sat down, and I bawled my eyes out. But she asked what happened, told her the whole story, and the first thing she said to me was, you weren't gonna fix that by yourself.
Whenever you get to a place where you're like, I'm not sure I'm thriving, I'm not sure that this is really going as well as it could, that's an opportunity to invite someone to be a part of your team to help you get there. And you can have a therapist or a doctor or someone walk alongside you and really kind of go with you through this journey and say, what do we need to work on that can help you be your best self in this situation?
My life at that moment was a messy bird's nest, and I'm trying to pull one string out of it. And so when trauma happens in your life, it causes a little knot, but you keep going. So when you have several things happen and something huge happen like that, it causes this mess of strings. And so I was trying to pull this string out by myself, but I needed somebody to help me untie those knots and pull the nest apart.
I don't know in my life how much of my issue with depression was something that was inherited, or if it was environmental, or if it was a combination of both of those. I just know it's there. I know it's a thing. And when I finally learned what it was and it had a name, I was able to deal with it. When my mom had chronic heart failure, they had to do a surgery and put this thing in her but before all of us kids were scared to death. We didn't know what was going to happen. Was this the last thing that was going to happen with my mom before she died? So we were scared to death. But then this nurse came in and she had all these brochures, these pamphlets, and she had a sample of the device that would be put into mom's valve. They were going to push the old one out of the way and put the new one in. And when she explained it, we were all like, okay, I'm good. We were good. There was no fear anymore. We had knowledge about what was going on, so we were not afraid. When I have a spell of depression, I know what it is, and I know where I can get the resources to take care of it and help me with it. So it dispels a lot of my own personal stigma that I have in me about depression.
We don't know what we don't know. And I think that's, we laugh when we say those little cliches, but it's true.
You have to be aware, you have to know, you have to understand before you can get help. If you don't know you need it, you're never gonna get it. So that's the first step. So why is it so important? It's because people do not know what's going on with them. They want to be their best self. They want to get help. They want to make sure their children and families are thriving, but they don't know what that looks like and what it means. And so that conversation is important in that piece. But we also have to put it in language where people understand it.
As a provider, I need to be educating my patient about their diagnosis. I don't need to just be throwing a med at them and tell them, oh, you have depression. They need to know what that means. And even if that means explaining it at the biochemical level, understanding how trauma plays into that, providing a treatment plan that a patient can be adherent to, that they can follow because they had buy-in, because they helped make the treatment plan, is also part of reducing that stigma. It is when we empower these patients and let them know they can feel valued, they can be valued, they can do things that give them value. For them, in their world, that's what's going to matter, in their reality. Unfortunately, stigma is always going to be there to some degree, just like racism, just like bullying, all those horrific concepts of the world. There's always going to be somebody. So I think that in order to abolish that stigma, really, a few things need to happen. We need better education. And again, I think it comes from both places, right? That we need what NAMI does, right? NAMI is a fabulous nationwide organization that helps us provide education to our patients and families about the experiences they're having.
They have a good understanding of where treatment is, who's available, what, how can we connect you? And they actually have people who will walk with you through the whole process, getting you connected to mental health care, if you need legal services, all of that. They really will talk you through and hold your hand to helping you get connected to services.
NAMI Arkansas is a grassroots organization. We've been in Arkansas for over 40 years now, and we provide advocacy for people and families dealing with mental health issues. We provide support, education, and advocacy.
I believe that we have a team here. And I named this team Team NAMI Arkansas Hope. I named that's the name of that. It's unofficial. I gave this team that name. Team NAMI Arkansas Hope. Now, having gone through what it is I went through, those 2 years in the state hospital, and then going through life just on a general basis, I believe that I finally found a team. I finally found a group that I can hook up with and unite with, who understands, who doesn't judge me because of what it is I say and I'm experiencing and going through.
Part of NAMI's mission, part of its vision, is to offer resources to people so that we can get rid of that stigma.
I like to say that we look at mental health through windows where we see it in other people. So we say mental health is over there, but we don't think of that it impacts us and it didn't impact our family and impact, people that we know. And in COVID, it was this kind of universal stressor where there was nowhere that you went that people didn't say that they were stressed.
More isolation, more depression, more anxiety, and people started kind of realizing that, hey, we have a serious problem here.
It really made people be more aware that mental health is something that we need to be paying attention to. Because now we're seeing that it's not just over there and in this population and it looks like this. It looks like me. It looks like my family members. It looks like everyone else because we're all experiencing some of these symptoms.
And post-COVID, the depression, anxiety is still there. We still have, COVID scares. So I think that was a good wake-up call for us that we have a problem. We have a mental health problem in Arkansas.
Everybody was feeling the impact. And so then it became a lot easier to talk about our mental health and our mental wellness because everyone was experiencing it. For the first time, people were able to say, oh, this is what it means to be a little depressed, or, oh, this is what it means to feel anxious. And we had a new experience that allowed us to show some empathy to other people who experience this day after day after day.
The World Health Organization last year came out and said that we have a secondary silent pandemic, and it's depression. And if you start looking at that in that light, mental health is another pandemic. Our legislatures really need to start looking at mental health as an epidemic. Mental health doesn't know a political party. It's not Republican, it's not Democrat, it's not independent. Mental health crosses party lines. And I think what we have to do from our local government to our state to our federal is start enacting the laws and the policies that benefit and help people with mental health issues. I think then the other thing that we have to do is start having that conversation of education, educating the public, educating the parents, educating grandparents on what mental health is. What does it look like? And what do we do about it? You know, that's the other big thing. What do we do? Well, we don't sit at home and try to deal with it by ourselves. That's not the answer.
So what does a typical day look like for you?
It's pretty much, I just get up, I'll read my Bible or something, play some video games, and that pretty much takes up the whole day. My life is pretty typical for someone who's a homebody. It just gets interrupted periodically by involuntary words and other nasty business. Maybe there's a death threat from the voices, or maybe I'll see some large, grotesque creature crouched up on the chair, wanting to eat me or something. It was just like this from the beginning. Only thing that changed is I understood the threat level. Like used to, if I got a death threat, I'd be really scared, but now I know that it's just bark. There's no bite to it. I've never hurt anyone. I've never attacked anyone.
Schizophrenia scares people. You know, you're hallucinating, you're seeing things, you're hearing things, you're tasting things, you're smelling things, as opposed to, I'm depressed. Most schizophrenics, most people with serious mental illnesses don't ever hurt anybody. They're actually more susceptible to fall prey to a violent crime than commit a violent crime. Not always. Now, I understand there's always the exception.
As far as schizophrenia goes, statistically in the US, it's 1% or less. Yes. So it is one of the more rare diagnoses for Jane as a mother and his family members. There is less support for them since it is a more rare diagnosis.
There was a time that I didn't talk about Joseph's mental illness, and I especially didn't use the word schizophrenia, because that is a label that is so misunderstood. And if I wanted to talk about Joseph, I wanted them to know Joseph. And I didn't want the label to be the thing and then him trying to peek out from behind it.
I felt like I got a label that made people look at me differently.
I still think there's such a stigma around, one, we know mental illness, but let alone serious mental illness such as schizophrenia.
Across the nation, some 49 million people are diagnosed with depression. And on the very low end of that, 3.9 million are diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Even more rare, speaking in Joseph's case, is childhood onset. So I believe he was 16 or 17 when he had his first episode.
I didn't even tell my parents yet, or any of my coworkers who I was close to, because I was like, what do I say? I don't know what's wrong. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know if it's going to go away. Is it temporary? And so I was just seeking answers. And I remember there was a time, maybe a couple of months into it, that Joseph, with clear memories of what it was like months ago to be normal, said, I just want my life back. And that was just like, oh, you know, and don't we all? I mean, yes, we all wanted to go back, for this to go away. There was no going back to the way things used to be. And so you find your new normal. You find your best life. You know, what do you need to do your best life this semester? You know, this month, whatever. And so then we began looking for our new normal. I really did feel assurance that we were just going to do the next thing we knew to do. We were going to pray for wisdom, for guidance. We were going to seek help wherever we would find it.
I started seeing Joseph in April of 2021. He has had a couple other providers. There have been many medications and treatments that he has had. When we talk about schizophrenia, one thing that we know promotes a better prognosis is having insight into your diagnosis. They want to understand what's going on. They want to have autonomy. So even with Joseph, he is very intelligent. He experienced his first psychotic episode in high school. It was very scary to everyone.
When you hold your son in your arms and he's a little baby and you're thinking, wonder what his life's going to be like. I wonder what he'll be. Wonder what will his talents be. What kind of trouble will he get in? Will he break his leg riding his bicycle? Will he had to have stitches? What's his life going to be like? Will he be a scientist like his mom and dad? I'm telling them this, and I'm like, never, ever in my thoughts did I think we would be dealing with psychiatrists and, years of trying to figure it out.
And you talk about, not expecting, not even thinking about the possibility of your child being diagnosed with schizophrenia.
I don't know what it is. There's all this science, there's all this faith, and there's all of everything else. It's really just, all I know is I'm seeing it, I'm hearing it, I'm feeling it, I'm smelling it, I'm tasting it. That means that it exists. That's how people confirm a reality. And just because other people can't see it, well, I'm not other people, I'm me. So it's a real something, I just don't know what that something is.
Joseph's insight is pretty spectacular. He can tell you when he knows he's hallucinating. Is it still his reality? Absolutely. He knows he is in real life seeing something. Even in his head with the insight of that's a hallucination, it is still his reality.
If I'm hallucinating, visually it's always translucent. Never is it not translucent. So if I see you, and then I see a hallucination of you, I can easily pick one out from the other because the fake one is always opaque and completely see-through. It's really weird. It can appear in full color, but I can always see straight through it to the colors of everything else without the colors blending together.
He always really had a good grasp on this is not real. One concern is that you have all these overwhelming negative thoughts that are so terrible. The voices tell you how horrible you are and try to, make you think they're going to control you and tell you what to do, even to hurt somebody. And going to the counselor helped him to have a grasp on that and saying, no, that's not who you are. You are still you. You're still Joseph. And you still have your values. Your values are secure and solid. And that was very helpful. And it helped him to kind of separate himself from some of what he was experiencing. So many people like him are homeless. Their hallucinations can turn to delusions that make them think that people are after them or not there to help them. And it's I would hate to think, of what kind of life that he would live if he didn't have the support of his family, of his church, and of the healthcare providers that are walking with us through this.
So when we're talking about schizophrenia, everyone is an individual. Everyone is going to be experiencing different things, some really severely, some maybe not at all. If you see individuals that are, let's say, really sick, not medicated, and they believe they're Jesus, right? They genuinely believe that. That's not something they're making up. That's not something they're going, wait, but am I? That is how they live. That is their reality. And attempting to talk them out of that reality probably isn't going to help, let alone might make it worse.
God Yahweh possesses my mind. I am not myself. When people ask me, who's like for he's like this and he's like that and he did that. That's not who I am. Who am I? who it is that I am, what it is that I am. God Yahweh possesses my mind, Mother God Yahweh. They control my mind. And so as I look at myself as being who it is I think I am, or God Yahweh told me that it is that I can be, the Spirit said, people can't do it. The churches can't do it. You got to get out there and take responsibility for everything and everybody. In 2006, I got arrested for a crime that I committed, first-degree murder. I asked for forgiveness. I repented of that crime. The one thing I told myself that I'm never going to do is do what I did when I killed my brother, and just give up and do something that's going to have me victim to circumstance. Got to get beyond that. Don't worry. You did that? Are you sorry for it? So yes, I'm sorry. I repented for what it is I did. I made some mistakes, and I admit that. My children, look, I deserve the worst. I deserve the worst thing that could happen to somebody.
If you want to help someone who has schizophrenia or hears things, you need something to counteract what they're seeing and hearing. For me, I see Satan and demons. So how do you fix that? You put in God. Music works too. Those little automatic checks and balances in your logic do not function with schizophrenia. I have to, at least, manually manage my thoughts. I purposely think, okay, honestly, does this seem like a logical thing to happen? Which makes it difficult to have any kind of faith. It's still worth it to have faith for me, but it's hard, especially if you're an Assemblies of God Pentecostal boy. I mean, we're already weird, and then adding more weirdness to it doesn't really help.
We don't have a cure, right? We can't just make it go away. But that's different than healing. And you can heal through the things you're going through.
Now I know reduction in symptoms is a great thing, but that back then, I just want them to go away. I want it to be fixed. Just like you have an infection, you take an antibiotic and you're fixed. Well, with mental illness, that's not how it works.
Medication is essential with mental health. Religious or not, medication is key. And prayer isn't always enough.
The process of finding the right medication is arduous, and he has been such a trooper in cooperating with all these medication changes. Weeks and months are going by while you're trying to find, the right thing or the best thing or a better thing. And I would say that's one of the most frustrating things, that you're just, and it's trial and error. It's so much trial and error. And so this is part of the process that sometimes can make mental health treatment so difficult.
There are so many hoops you have to jump through to get the best medication. It's ridiculous. And if you can't jump through those hoops, you can't get your medicine, things go downhill really quick.
If there are social determinants of health that don't allow them to access those resources, whether it's insurance, whether it's transportation, whether it's availability, there are some providers in the state that are booking 3 to 6 months out.
One of the things that we are concerned about are the other people who don't have, a mom and a dad who can take them where they need to be, when they need to be. What about transportation alone can be a barrier.
I can't drive. And if I get in that car, I'm going to see a giant dragon flying across the sky or something else crazy.
Fortunately, with the abilities to do telehealth, that has opened up across the state. Some of that came from COVID happening, and that allowed us to get into these more rural areas, offering things like telehealth, which almost everyone does now. If someone doesn't have a car, great, we do telehealth today. If someone isn't feeling well but really wants to still have their appointment, great, we do telehealth today. Having that option alone just opens that up. Is it everything? No. Does it help? I think it's made a significant impact.
Blevins 80, Thompson 100, Wright 80, Wilson 80.
Joseph and Jane being able to advocate the way they are, the way they are able to provide education to law enforcement and first responders across the state. Some of that has been through the support they get, not just Joseph himself, obviously being so supported by Jane.
One of the things that I've tried to do over the years is just to have empathy for Joseph and other people like that I think might be experiencing things. For instance, I don't know what it's like to see something like that, but I know what it's like to be afraid.
Buster was the one that made those connections with law enforcement to do this CIT training.
One of the things that we love to do here at NAMI is the crisis intervention training, the CIT, where we get to go out and train law enforcement officers on how to work with people with mental health issues. You know, we bring in guest speakers like Joseph Hurley and his mom. They put a real life perspective to, here's what I have. I'm not a monster.
I had tried to kill myself for the first time because I didn't want to hurt anyone else.
So he had a very intense fear that he would hurt me or someone he cared about.
Like, I wouldn't go on walks alone with my mom. It was that bad. I never hurt anyone, but when you first have the diagnosis, you don't understand what these things can or can't do to you, or what they can or can't make you do to someone else. I had everything. I'm talking about my blessings. I had a family who loved me, I had medication, I had friends who accepted me in spite of my diagnosis. People were good to me, I got good welfare. At the same time, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 times I tried to kill myself because even with all of those good things, it was just that constant and just that brutal. I go with my mom and we explain my story, who I am, where I've come from, and then jump right into things that would be really great for them to do if they encountered me without my medicine. People you interact with who are hearing things, it's scary. They don't want to do what they're supposed to do, not because they're being awful people, but it's horrifying. And then I have to kind of project myself onto other people because we can't just interview everyone who has schizophrenia. What we can do is take a single situation and sort of ballpark it.
So glad to be involved with the crisis intervention training that we're doing to help law enforcement understand, you know, what it's like and what barriers there are, what people are up against, and trying to deal with their mental illness or their crisis, however it presents.
We get to train these law enforcement officers on mental health issues, anything from schizophrenia to dementia. Now they get to put it into practice and demonstrate to us that they know how to talk and work with somebody that may be having a mental health episode.
I want to see CIT grow, and I want to do my part in helping people understand how to give other people hope, whether or not it's religious. I have to think, what would give someone hope if you just completely threw religion out? And then I kind of try to package it that way.
We've told you all the bad stuff because that's probably what you're going to encounter. But again, we've been on this journey for 11 years now, and we have good things going on. So the medicine, we get to do this.
I use words like I've been using. Whatever your faith, whatever you believe in, whatever your walk of life is, this, that, and the other, just do these things that are universally hopeful. Like being good to people, by being gentle and kind and understanding.
It's like clockwork. I see the officers' faces after Joseph or whoever speaks. It's like the light bulb goes off, and it's like, oh, this is how this works.
You know, reading about something and intellectually trying to understand something, and reading a textbook, having a professor teach you something, having Dr. Lackey tell us something, about mental illness is one thing, but actually being exposed to and talking with people who have those struggles and experiences is helpful, especially in a context that's non-threatening.
It really helps hearing it firsthand, especially on what kind of approach us as officers kind of need to take.
The community sees that the department's trying to figure out how to help this person instead of always making an arrest. over half of those that have mental health don't get any treatment.
CIT keeps expanding, and I'm hoping it'll expand to the point where it's not just me and my mother giving the talks, because all the policemen need to know about this, and police women too.
Why do you think that's important that they all know about it?
Because people who have this disorder have a very high suicide attempt rate and a very big suicide success rate.
Joseph wanting to tell his story is also part of his journey to wellness. He wants people to understand what he's going through so that he can help others. But I think all Joseph is doing is part of his identity of who he was meant to be with or without his diagnosis.
A very important part of my mental health journey is failing my way into victory. I just have to fail over and over and over again in interpreting reality. It's like a trial and error thing. And after so many times of something not working, something going horribly wrong every time I do it, it's like, okay, I've failed on this so many times, it must not be effective, I'll try something different. This belief is hurting my mind, I'll try something different. As soon as an idea comes in your head from this disorder, it's instantly true. And you don't get a chance to think about it or mull it over unless you understand it's coming and have the skills to challenge it or not destroy it, but neutralize it.
Is there anything you can do to kind of
Neutralize? Christian music, I don't know how to explain it because there's Christian music that works and there's Christian music that doesn't work, but what works does. Music has been instrumental in me getting better.
So after Terrence passed away, I found myself in a really interesting position. I didn't want to play music. I didn't want to book gigs. I didn't want to jam with anybody. I had no interest in it. And I honestly didn't know if that would ever come back. He was just a comfort. He was a security blanket for me. And one thing that my counselor suggested was write a song about how you felt. In that moment of panic, in that moment of anxiety, write it down and sing it. Let people hear it. And I thought, you've lost your mind. Absolutely not. But I'm not telling people I'm seeing a counselor, much less that I had moments of panic attack, right? And I remember sitting down and trying to channel, because when you're not in the moment, you don't feel those feelings like you do in the moment of just dark, lonely, dread. And so I tried to channel, how did I feel in that exact moment? And so I wrote it into a song called Watch the Walls. And it's one of my favorite songs lyrically because it talks about looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. It talks about holding on to your hope because I lost mine. And it talks about watching for the walls because it feels like in that moment they're just falling on top of you. And it ended up kind of catapulting me back into music a little bit. Music brought me back once again to who Townsend really is. And so that started me back up. It lit a fire of passion underneath me. It was a moment of realization that Terrence would not want me to not do music. He was my biggest supporter. He would not want me to sit back and not do anything musically. And so it just kind of led from that to I can do more than that. And so I did a little bit more and I did a little bit more. And then the next thing I knew, it started this huge, almost foundation type thing called You're Not Alone with Townsend.
Hey everybody, this is Townsend. I'm a singer, songwriter, musician, and mental health advocate. And I started the You're Not Alone project and podcast to help educate, spread awareness, and simply help you feel a little less alone, no matter what you're going through.
My goal with that was using the strategies that I had learned and the growth that I have developed to help other people not go through what I went through. Because you don't have to go through that. You don't have to be isolated. You don't have to think that nobody understands, because that's just not true.
What would you tell little old Raisha if you could go back and meet her now? So as a younger self, what would you go back and say?
That you are right where you're supposed to be.
I felt like I could make more of a difference through my You're Not Alone project and through meeting people with music, through sharing my diary of songs through people and letting them know that they're not alone, no matter what they're going through.
Part of my heart, baby, it still belongs to you.
I got people messaging me all the time. I think last year with my seasons, I had 3 people message saying they didn't go through with suicide because of an episode, which is amazing. It's so amazing. And so I think my goal, my long-term goal would be someone somewhere feels a little bit less alone because of an episode that I shared. It helps people realize it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to go through it. It's a conversation that we need to have. And so really the goal is just to start the conversation, to let people know it's just a conversation. There's no stigma to it. We have physical health just like we have mental health.
I love it. Justin, thank you so much for joining us. Patrons, as always, thank you so much for your support. Go check this guy out. It's amazing. Help out Parkinson's, help out these guys in Africa doing amazing, amazing things. And remember that you're not alone.
If you are newly diagnosed or you're just getting started in a mental health journey here in Arkansas, I think the first thing I would say is you're not alone. All of us have our own individual mental health journey. And so we're all on that journey together. So you're not alone. You're not the only person. I think sometimes there's power in knowing that it's not just you. Mental health sometimes is isolating. Someone says the one illness where they don't bring you a casserole. And so, you don't have a visitation. And so it's isolating sometimes. And just to know that there are other people out there that are doing the same things that you're doing.
I would say it is possible to have a fulfilling life with good relationships in spite of mental health challenges or mental illness challenges. Just don't quit seeking help. Find the places that can give you hope for your recovery and for your management, and don't let any roadblocks stop you from seeking the help that you need for your best life.
Keep going, because there is help out there. There's help available for you. There are people who want to walk with you, walk alongside you, to be there with you as you're on this journey to better mental health. So don't give up. You're not alone. Don't give up. And then definitely make sure that you're contacting NAMI Arkansas, that you have them on your speed dial.
I do see the ship turning. I see more people willing to talk about their mental health issues. Almost 6 years ago when I started, we were getting like 10 calls a month. We are now getting over, 400 calls a month. Some months I've reached as high as 600 calls for people wanting services or just information about mental health services in Arkansas.
I see, especially after COVID, a lot more people being willing to say things like, hey, I went to therapy today. I saw my therapist. My therapist told me this. We're seeing more of that, and we're seeing more of it in the national discourse too. We're seeing celebrities come out and say, mental health is important.
The more we educate people and the more that we get the word out that mental health is common and it's normal sometimes to be depressed, it's normal sometimes to get anxiety, and make it a normal conversation from starting in our homes to our schools, to our churches or houses of worship. When we start normalizing it, that's what's going to make that difference of whether we talk about it or not.
We all need to work together, for policy changes, whether it's the pharmacies, the hospitals, the clinics, to try to get people what they need, when they need it, and we reduce the barriers to them living a better life.
It's also going to take advocacy, something Jane is really great with. And that means finding maybe laws, rules, regulations that are coming down that might have negative impacts or further push that picture of stigma.
I do see some of our legislatures, both federal and local, state level, at least trying to start the conversation. What is mental health and what are we doing and where do we go and how do we fix this problem? So I see the positives. Are we there yet? No. We still have a long way to sail, but I think we're making strides every day. Every time we chip away at another law that's prohibitive, or another program, or another licensing issue for our providers, we're getting a step closer.
I think it's always important for us to imagine a world where we could turn from stigma. If you're marching towards the horizon, you may not get there, but you're going to be closer to it than you were when you started. So I think that we always have to keep in front of us is moving towards a society where stigma is not an issue for us anymore.
People that deal with mental illness, they still have dreams of what they want to do with their life. They still have an impact that they want to make on the world.
Just think about what the world would be if we had a community where if somebody said, I'm struggling right now, that our first reaction was to say, how can I support you?
I just keep thinking about one friend of mine who struggles with depression like I do. And we were talking one day, and I just remember him saying to me through tears, I can't think of anything that I would not be happy to give up if I could just have one day of my life without depression. Just one day. And I thought then, I think that's the hope of NAMI, is that we can offer that to people, finding the right resources, finding the right help, finding the right doctors, the right therapists, whatever it takes, so that they can not only have that one day, but they can find a lifetime of joy and happiness and peace.
No matter what your creed is, if you're helping, being good, providing a way out that isn't a pill or a gun, that's everything sometimes.
My name is Lonnie Phillips. I am second son. Mother God Yahweh, Father God Yahweh, the most beloved second son. The long-awaited, uniquely fashioned returned Messiah. Omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. All-knowing, all-powerful, able at the same time. Having done the impossible, I got the devil, Satan, Lucifer, and the serpent to repent and to turn from all their evil ways. Am I Jesus? No. Jesus was Jesus. My name is Lonnie Phillips, second son. Mother God Yahweh, Father God Yahweh, the most beloved second son. The long-awaited, uniquely fashioned, returned Messiah. Omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. All-knowing, all-powerful, able at the same time. Having done the impossible. There may come a time when my life is required. So if that happens, you know what? I'm willing to sacrifice that, my own self. I done sacrificed everything else. I've done everything I think to do. The only thing that's left for me to do now is to keep striving for the mark of the higher calling. And if that falls apart,